Bradford City moved 3 points clear of third place in League One after a 1-0 victory away at Plymouth Argyle. And in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing and reacting to today's victory. If you do go on to enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 200 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below on today's win. Let's waste no further time and get straight into it. Now, obviously, this is a massive win for Bradford City. Not only is it another 3 points closer to where we want to be, it's our third league clean sheet in a row, and it's the perfect way to bounce back after the dire performance that we saw on Tuesday night away at Bolton in the AFL Trophy. The only goal of the game being scored by former Plymouth man Anthony Sarswick, but we'll come on to that in a moment. Firstly, we'll have a look at the starting 11. Now, unfortunately, on Flash Score, it is completely wrong on here. This was not the team that Bradford City played. It's the right players, just completely in the wrong positions, but I think there were certainly question marks over why Kieran Kelly was starting over Tom McIntyre. Some people are also questioning Curtis Tilt, who was back on the bench for Bradford City, which is very important because I think he's been a very key player for us so far, but I do think there was a few question marks over that. Going forward, seeing Humphreys still playing as a striker and Tyreek Wright actually in the front three for Bradford City, again, there was a few question marks about that. I think even again, Plymouth's team is not accurate whatsoever, so hopefully Flash Score do get this sorted out. But in terms of the players that were playing, obviously the big omission was Laurent Talai through suspension, but Plymouth were definitely the better side in that first half. Looking at the stats from the first half, you would actually say Bradford City were the better of the two teams, but Plymouth created a really good opportunity inside the first 60 seconds, which was well saved by Sam Walker. After that, Bradford City had a couple of half chances, but all of our shots were very tame and weak and going straight into the goalkeeper. Our best opportunity of the game in the first half certainly fell to Anthony Sarswick when Jensen Metcalf showed some brilliant pressing to win the ball back for Bradford City, and Sars should have either shot himself straight away or slipped it in to Stephen Humphreys. He tried to then go around his man and cut the ball across, and by the time he'd done that, Plymouth had got back into shape, and it was some good defending really from Plymouth. But I think Jamie Patterson was certainly the big standout from a Plymouth point of view. I thought throughout the whole game he caused us a fair few difficulties and problems, but in the first half, not a lot clear cut was really created between the two sides apart from those opportunities that I did just mention. I think there was maybe a bit of surprise not to see any substitutions at half-time. I think this would have been the 5th game on the bounce in the league, or maybe in any game generally where Bradford City would have actually made changes at the break. We decided not to do it in this one, and it paid off for the Bantams, as just before the hour mark, Stephen Humphreys would pick up the ball in the left wing position, beat one man like he's not even there, then look to go past the second man. That second man then brought him down inside of the penalty area. Now, it's not the most stonewall penalty that you have ever seen, but obviously the referee was Tom Parsons, the same referee that gave the Tranmere penalty last year, so as we know, he is quite a dodgy referee. I thought throughout the game he made a number of incredibly strange calls throughout the match, and that again, it does go for both sides. I can certainly see why the penalty has been given, but if he hadn't given it, I also would not have really complained all too much. I do think there is contact, but it is also quite minimal. Anthony Sarswick then steps up, Bradford City's penalty taker, and fires it into the back of the net. Now, normally he takes a much more no-nonsense approach to penalties where he just blasts them as hard as he can, but he tries to open up his body and curl it into the bottom corner. Now, it is actually quite a poor penalty. If the keeper dives that way, he's definitely going to save it. It's at a poor height, it's quite central, but it finds the back of the net, so that in turn does make it an outstanding penalty. He sends Connor Hazard the wrong way, and that was the only goal of the game. After that, we created some other half-decent opportunities, to be fair. Stephen Humphreys again getting off of the left wing, where his best performances have come for Bradford City. Couple of step overs, tries to play a ball into Josh Nerthville. It deflects into the path of Tyreek Wright against his former club. Perfect opportunity, but he puts that one straight at Connor Hazard. I think it maybe a bit more composure and he could have finished that one off, but Plymouth didn't really create much after that. They had a couple of opportunities where there was blocks and bodies on the line, but I never really felt like Plymouth had a sustained period of pressure. We made a couple of substitutions late on. I thought all of the subs really did make sense. Now, McIntyre coming on in midfield instead of Tommy Lee, few question marks about that, but I think McIntyre's looked quite solid in that role, and obviously Brad Halliday gets a booking. That was quite smart. They lost their heads quite late on in the game as well, just making a fair few poor decisions, but I would actually say Plymouth weren't an awful side. They did create some decent openings, and I think if they had a half decent striker, then they could have probably won this game. If Laurent Talai suspended, they probably would have won this game. And I do think I can understand now, having seen Plymouth, why Tom Cleverley hasn't quite been sacked yet, because you look at the underlying numbers and Plymouth were probably the better side throughout the game, but they just lack that quality, and that comes from above the owners and stuff. And I know Simon Hallett gets a lot of criticism from a fair few Plymouth Argyle fans, but the fact of the matter is they've had a lot of money come into the football club and they've not spent a lot of money on their team. The only man they've really spent a lot of money on recently is somebody like a Laurent Talai, who's proved to comfortably be their best player so far this season. I think he's already into double figures for goals in all competitions. But looking at the league table and what it means, firstly we'll look at Plymouth Argyle as they stay second bottom in the division, and obviously now have played the same amount of games as the team below them and above them, but have now played a game more than the two teams above that in Exeter and Peterborough. It is just one win in their last 4 matches. It's 12 defeats from their opening 18 games so far this season, 32 goals conceded, only 19 scored. Big positive for Bradford City, keeping a clean sheet against Plymouth, who obviously scored the joint most amount of goals in the bottom 6 or 7 teams, which is good news for us. In terms of Bradford City, what the majority of you have probably clicked on for today's video, our form is starting to come back, which is good. We're starting to see some more green next to Bradford City. There's now a 3-point gap between ourselves and Stevenage. Yes, they've now got 2 games in hand, but they're not easy games for Stevenage. I know one of them is against Barnsley, not 100% sure on who the others are against, but that is big for us. And now obviously we're up to date. We don't have any more games in hand. We're now a point behind Cardiff City, who also played in the early kickoff. They beat Huddersfield Town 3-2 at home. They also do have a game in hand on Bradford City. So Cardiff, I think, might eventually run away with the league. But 7 points picked up from our last 3 matches, not conceded in that time. Yes, only 2 goals scored, but winning is all that matters. We saw last season we had a fair few 1-0 wins, particularly at home, the likes of Harrogate at home. We also had Accrington at home, Morecambe at home, them type of games. But away from home, we beat Bromley 1-0 away from home. And you do need to just grind results out, especially away from home. Winning is massive for us. And you would expect the teams around us like Cardiff, Stevenage, Lincoln, Stockport, Bolton, okay, it might not have necessarily worked out like that, but to be beating Plymouth, so we also then need to go and do so. I know obviously Stockport lost away at Plymouth, so this is not an easy fixture. Plymouth notoriously is quite an hard away game for Bradford City. I've been there twice myself. We've drawn 3-3 and lost 2-1 back in the 18-19 and 19-20 season, where I personally know how long of a journey that is, and a lot of Bradford City fans will be going there and back on one day to get there for a 12:30 kickoff as well. Over 800 Bradford City fans for a rearranged fixture is absolutely outstanding support. Given that the trained people are on strike again, which is a discussion for maybe another video, but that is ridiculous, isn't it, that they've gone on strike yet again, so it made trains harder for Bradford fans. Obviously, with there being a rearranged fixture, I was going to go to the original one. Obviously, now that it's been rearranged, couldn't make the rearranged game, unfortunately, but a big win for Bradford City, and great to see Anthony Sarsfield score against his former club. I know he's held in quite a good regard throughout his time at Plymouth, but what a man he is, and what a finish, and I thought he had a pretty solid game again. Going through the team individually then, I thought Sam Walker didn't have that much to do, but what he did have to do, he did it quite well, and obviously kept another clean sheet, which is good for him. Aidan Baldwin back in the team, and yet another clean sheet for Bradford City. I thought he had a really good game in this one. First half, stopped a certain goal towards the end of it when he cleared Jamie Patterson's cross away. That was a really good piece of defending, and there's no surprise to me that since Aidan Baldwin has come back into the side for Bradford City, that defensively we've looked a lot better. He is really important. Joe Wright, I thought, had a solid game. Was delighted to see him back available, obviously after going off on Tuesday with injury. Kieran Kelly, for me, that was comfortably his best game in a Bradford City shirt this season. I thought he had a really good game defensively, very solid. Yes, there was still the odd Kieran Kelly hoof up the pitch, but on the whole, I thought that was definitely his best game of the season for Bradford City. I thought he had a really good performance. Josh Nerfel again, really poor for me. There was 2 opportunities that he had in the first half to take on his man. The first one was a heavy touch and just went straight back to a Plymouth player, and the second one was that bad, it went straight out of play. I thought Josh Nerfel had a really poor performance. He was subbed off for Brad Halliday, who came on and did his job very solidly, helped us run the clock down. And I know starting and seeing a game out is very different, but Halliday for me has to be starting the next couple of games. Max Power, I thought was steady away in the game, some good stuff, some poor stuff, but got us through it. Did pick up his 9th booking of the season, so without a doubt he's probably going to miss a 2-game ban probably over the Christmas period, which will be a big blow really for Bradford City. He might even miss the game against his former club at Wigan, because I don't see him getting through to the end of February without picking up another yellow card, although in this one he's his yellow was pretty silly. Jensen Metcalf thought had a really good game, in particular in that first half. His finishing certainly needs some working on. I think he had a couple of good openings and opportunities, and there were some really poor strikes, and I do think that he's let him down at the moment. But on the whole, his pressing, the majority of his passing was quite solid. I was impressed again with Metcalf. Ibu Toure, I thought, started out the game quite slowly, but as the game went on, especially in the second half, I thought ended it very well. Front three, Sars was great. Tyreek Wright was pretty good on the whole as well, and Stephen Humphries was actually quite poor, apart from two really good moments where he was playing off the left. Stephen Humphries has to play off the left. Obviously, Tom McIntyre came on for the last couple of minutes, didn't really do much because he was on for 4 minutes of stoppage time, and Will Swan came on and pressed really well, did what Swan does really well, to be fair. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. Bradford City go 3 points clear of 3rd place, and we're also 7 points clear of 7th as of right now. What a start to life at League One level. It was only a couple of weeks ago there were certain people asking for change in the management of Bradford City, but 3 clean sheets on the bounce, back-to-back wins, 7 points picked up from our last 3 matches. Really positive signs at Bradford City as we go into a busy Christmas period. Hopefully we can follow it up with another win on Tuesday away at Port Vale, who've only won 3 of their opening 18 games, only scored 11 in that time. Haven't scored in the league since the beginning of October, but did score 5 on Tuesday night against practically a full-strength Barnsley side. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what that one does hold. I'll be back in the away end on Tuesday, but a massive win for Bradford City. Credit to all of those travelling fans who are probably not going to get back until Sunday morning, which is crazy, but fair play to all those who have travelled. If you have enjoyed watching today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 200 likes, as I said at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below on today's win. Which players impressed you? Which players maybe slightly did underperform? And how are you feeling now about Bradford City's current run? Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.